Hey y'all, welcome to the Miller Time Podcast. Today we are going to have a special treat for you all. This is a bonus episode, and we are going to be giving a recap of BSPF, everything that we've been talking about over the past couple episodes. We're going to just give a quick summary, make it short and sweet for you all to just give an overview of what we've been discussing. And then we're actually going to do a question and answer time where listeners have sent in questions about our BSPF series, and we're going to make it personal and try to give you guys some good value in how we believe you can move forward in creating your extraordinary life. So sit back and relax and enjoy this bonus episode.
What's up with the podcast fam?
Hey.
Yeah. We got to figure out our sound. We got to figure out our noise. You know what I mean? Like, what is our thing? You just be like, hey. I feel like I'm trying to do something. I got to find my noise. What's your noise?
Hey.
That's wag. I mean, it's cool. It's not wag.
Is this going on the podcast?
Yes. We gotta find our sound, cause yeah. You know, I'm trying to be like Spice Adams. Get that ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Okay. What's going on, y'all? Welcome to the Miller Time Podcast.
People of color redefining success.
Success. What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another week of the Miller Time Podcast. I am Patrick Miller.
And I'm CoCo Miller.
And we are the Millers. Courtney is feeling a little dry today.
No, I'm not. He's just staring at me like I'm supposed to be saying something.
I'm always supposed to. This is a podcast. The whole point is for you to say something. Anyway, welcome back, y'all. I hope y'all doing well. I hope y'all had a good weekend. And I know it's Monday, so you guys are all out doing your life, living your life, grinding, probably in traffic, probably at the job already listening to podcasts and pretending like you're doing work. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all always being on your hustle, being on your grind. You know, some of y'all might be saying, I'm going to say the podcast for later. And when I'm on my way home from work, or maybe when I'm standing at the sink doing dishes, that's when I listen to my podcast. Yeah. When I'm standing at the sink doing dishes.
I'd be like in the living room, Patrick. And he's like not answering while he's doing dishes.
Deep in those podcasts, listening to everybody. Mm-hmm. It's a real community out here. So yeah, shout out to all the podcast people out there doing your thing. We appreciate y'all. We just got connected with a community of podcasters. Yeah, and I can't wait to introduce y'all to them. We might have some of them on our podcast. We might be on some of their podcasts. But yeah, everybody out there doing their podcast thing, we say what's up.
What's that?
We love y'all. Keep y'all work up. Anyway, how are you doing today, Courtney?
I'm doing good.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm good. You know, it's Monday. It is. And yeah, we doing our thing.
We doing it.
It's the podcast thing. So yeah, let's talk about last week. Let's talk about last week's episode. We just finished.
Yes, on Flow.
We just finished Flow, and we finished the whole BSPF series, which is our success philosophy, which is all about how we use the patterns that we took from other successful people in the world, the successful people in our community, some of the things we've learned through research and studies, And we put all that together and we say, hey, these are the four
Tenets.
philosophies, steps, phases of success, and they apply in every area of life. One being embrace, which is all about surrounding yourself with an intentional community, a group of belonging, a group of care, a group of challenge. A group that shares support and shares power. Surrounding yourself with the intentional group that is all about pushing you forward towards your success. And then
Spark is all about having experiences that can challenge our limiting beliefs to help create empowering beliefs. And being able to examine how our mindsets, the mindsets that we have, how, like, what our saying is, hope changes the future, and how our mindsets affect and influence our futures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we truly believe that. And the next one is purpose. Mm-hmm. And we believe what you do matters. What you do matters. If man, I was literally having this conversation with a friend of ours not so long ago, like literally as I was in the car with him, when we were talking about how so many people will try to go after jobs, especially people of color, especially what I've noticed a lot of, like, black males. They'll go after jobs that pay well. You always have OGs coming up to me say, young buck, you ever thought about doing welding? You ever thought about joining a union? You know, you can make a lot of money in the union. Make some good money. Yeah.
In fact, listen, Grandpa, I don't want to be in it.
Right. Actually, it was like one of our neighbors.
Yeah, one of our neighbors.
One of our neighbors did that. He was like, look, you be in the union, you make some good money. I'm like, all right. Everybody, I always hear people talk about welding and making good money. Don't nobody talk about how fun it is. That's how I know I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But we were talking about how people will try to go after the things that, like, just seem like it's going to make good money, and then they're not happy. Right. And then they quit because they never loved it.
No purpose behind it.
Yeah, there's no purpose behind it. We believe what you do matters. So if you have a purpose, you know your why, that not only your why on how it will impact you, but also impact the world around you in a positive way. It will drive you to do it, that you won't ever quit. And you'll always find it, even if an obstacle comes up, that you can think around it and you can work your way around it, because what you do matters.
What you do matters.
Yeah.
And what you do matters more than your talents and your skills and your strengths. Mm-hmm. But your strengths are still important, which goes into flow. Mm-hmm. And flow is being able to get into the confidence in the skills and the gifts that you have, and being able to move in a way in your strengths that help you to achieve your extraordinary life, to achieve your dreams. Yeah. And so these are things that are innate to you. These are not like brand new skills or things that you need to learn, but these are actually things that you already are good at, and being able to tap into those skills and developing more confidence in those skills to start getting you to the next level in your dream. Yeah. It's so real. It would feel so nice to know that I don't have to change, like, my strengths to be successful, to just realize that everything that God has given me as a strength, like, sure, I can strengthen my strengths and I can always, like, focus on growing them and perfecting them, but I don't have to try and be someone else. Right. Like, I don't have to try and learn someone else's strengths, and if they're not native to me, and try to figure those out. Like, you are good at those for a reason, and I can be good at what I'm good at for a reason. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we can use those to find success. And in fact, we find the most success when we tap into our strengths, which is flow. We get into that flow. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we went through all of our success philosophy, and we talked about BSPF, and now we ended, but we wanted to do a bonus episode on BSPF because we had a lot of people who were asking us questions, who were interested in more detail around BSPF. And so we got those questions for you all. So thank you so much for sending in your questions. Mm-hmm. We can't go through everyone's questions, but we definitely wanted to give it a start and hit off some of the ones that we got and begin with that. And yeah, just a reminder, if you are listening to our podcast and you're like, hey, I
I have a question, like I need answers about this, or I'm curious more. Can you talk a little bit more about this? We would love to do that and feature your question in one of our podcast episodes. And even if we don't get the opportunity to feature it in one of our episodes, that we'll respond with an answer for you personally, so that we can get you the information. One of the things we care about is just giving people the resources and skills they need to be able to create their extraordinary life. So whether we can do it in our podcast or not, we're going to give it to you because, that's what matters. So, yeah.
Ready to get into it?
Yeah, let's get into these questions.
Yes. So, with these questions, I will read the question out and...
She'll say your name.
Yeah, I'll say your name and where you're from.
Mm-hmm.
And...
First name and where you're from, right?
First name and where you're from. And then either Patrick or I will take the lead, and then maybe one of us will have some side commentary.
Depending on how the spirit leads.
Yeah. And we'll try to keep it short and sweet, so we can try to get to as many questions that we have.
But we'll try to give as much detail as we can.
Detailed, short and sweet, detailed.
I don't know if you guys noticed, I'm I'm going to give you details. Courtney's short and sweet.
But I'm a very detail-oriented person, and Patrick's not. And so
it's just conversational style.
Conversational style. Yeah.
Yeah. She's short and sweet. Let's keep it real simple.
Short and sweet.
Let's just give it to them and
straight to
exit
the
out
point.
here. Let's get out of here. We got to stay here for a long time.
Because I care about y'all. I know y'all got stuff to do. Okay, let's get to the first one. The first one is from Derek, who's coming all the way from Oakland.
And my hometown.
Yeah, not my hometown. Derek asks, how do you manage moving in your purpose while working your 9 to 5?
That's a good question. Manage moving in your purpose in 9 to 5. Good question, Derek.
Do you want to take it?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I would say, all right, so I would say that speaks to me in my life because that was something I definitely had to go through. So I'll tell you a little bit of how I saw it in my life, and then I'll give you the advice. When I was working a 9 to 5 job, I was working at an event center in Richmond in the Craneway Pavilion. Plug. Though I love the people there and I love my team, and I've been there for a long time, and they were loyal to me and I was loyal to them for a very long time, I wasn't really passionate about the work. And it wasn't I just wasn't excited about the work. I didn't really care about it. And so I had to figure out how I can move in my purpose at this point in my life, even though this work was so far from what I was supposed to be doing. I had to find out how I can get back into my purpose. And so what I did was we started CoCo Pumping Life. We started working. We started doing it. So literally I would be at work from 8 to 4. We would get off. We would come home and we would be coaching clients and working with clients and doing dream teams and planning events and doing all types of stuff. And so we were literally just grinding while actually making it happen. So before while I was working in my 9 to 5 that wasn't necessarily tied into my passion, I was able to create the freedom for myself in my purpose by pursuing what I wanted to do outside of my work. So I created the opportunity for myself. We created the opportunity together, but I created it for myself and I pursued it on my own personal time, and I grew in my skill. I grew in my belonging and my brace. And so I was able to surround myself with the right people. I was able to spark the right types of mindsets. I was able to find a new sense of purpose and find my flow, find the strengths that I had, and be able to tap into those things. And so because of that, when I did that for a long period of time, I felt confident. I felt ready to be able to move from my job that I was at into a job that was really in line with my purpose, because I had created that freedom for myself. I had created the freedom, but also not only did this surround me with the right people, it embraced me, but it also sparked me to believe that I could actually do it. And so, so what I was doing, I would say that my answer is, if you are working your 9 to 5, there's two different things. One, either your 9 to 5 is in line with your purpose, or your 9 to 5 is not in line with your purpose and it's totally off. I would say the first thing you can do that you have the freedom to do. I'm not a advocate of telling people to quit their jobs and leave their jobs if you got bills to take care of. Like, I think one of the things that I would like to redefine, and we can have conversations about this, but for people of color, is that we don't always got to quit our jobs to go try to pursue our dreams, because a lot of times we don't got somebody to be there for us, to financially provide for us, or to take care of us right then. And so I recognize that. So I'm all about grinding overtime and putting in extra work and working 16, 18 hours a day. So I would say create the opportunity by creating the freedom outside of your work. Do it outside of when you get off work. You should be working on the weekends. You should be working on your thing. You should be doing your stuff. And then once that creates freedom for you, then you can say, maybe I take the next step and I move into a career, a job that is more in line with my purpose and my passion. Yeah. And honestly, like, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with keeping one foot in the career world and one foot in the entrepreneurial world, and using both of them to kind of like move you forward. And I mean, honestly, that was what I did. I was able to use my career to provide for me. I was able to use my entrepreneur or my business to give me experience, then use my other foot that was in the career to step into a new job, and then use that job to push me forward even in my business, and vice versa all the way through. So yeah, I would say create that freedom by creating opportunities for yourself. Create the opportunity for you to pursue your purpose by creating an opportunity for you to do it outside of job, outside of your work.
In work and outside of work.
In work and outside of work. Yeah, do both. Like, keep moving yourself forward in a way. That's all I'm gonna say.
I know he wants to keep going.
I do want to keep going because I got details.
Well, let's go to our next question.
Thank you so much, Derek
from Oakland. Next question is from Hazel from Hayward. Hazel from Hayward. And her question is, how does a person of color balance success while also naming the barriers for people of color to climb the ladder of success? And I love this question because this is what this podcast is all about. People of color redefining success is not saying that there's not barriers that people of color have to face. It's very much acknowledging the barriers that we have to face, which is why we have to redefine success, not follow what the paradigm of success already looks like.
Right.
So what Patrick kind of spoke to is that he is all for people of color still grinding, because we don't necessarily have dad with a fat bank account and a trust fund and all these things that he can pull out while we're chasing after our dreams. And not saying that all white people have that, but I think it is important, as Hazel's saying, to name the things that people of color do have to face in the journey of success. Yeah. And, some of those things are lack of access. So lack of access to resources in terms of literally financial resources, lack of access to knowledge resources, lack of access to literally networking and connections, that these can all be barriers that people of color face due to a lot of things. We can go all the way back to just how systemically how oppression works, where it wants to keep Black and brown people shut in and keeping the good and the high resources away, where they're more accessible to white people more than people of color, which we see evident in our communities. Why are there no grocery stores in Richmond, really, unless you go to El Cerrito or Albany? But you see 50 million liquor stores.
Or you see Food for Less?
Yeah, or Food Max or Grocery Outlet. That's one thing.
You only find grocery outlets in the hood.
Yeah, I've never seen a grocery outlet in Walnut Creek.
Yeah.
But in Walnut Creek, for those that aren't in the Bay, that is a very high income suburban.
It used to be like it used to kind of be like a elderly community. It was where a lot of people, I think, like moved to when they had like either retired or just kind of moved out to, because it was like a nice area and it was away from like the city and the urban, and then eventually it started to shift. I would say probably like maybe 12, 15 years ago, from being a like an older, rich, more like white community to being younger, rich
white community.
White community.
Some people of color, but you usually got money.
There's a sprinkle of people of color out there, but yeah, it's definitely becoming more diverse than it had been in the past 10 years.
Right. Yeah. So getting back to what the barriers, so thinking about all the isms in terms of racism, classism, sexism, heterosexism. There's all the isms that affect people of color, where we're on the downside of power. And what that means is there's a lot of power and resources that is available just by being white. And so when you're on the downside of power, you're always fighting to get access to power and privilege and resources, which are not easily, they're never given to us. We have to try to earn or get up to that place. And so when we're going after success, it's really important, like Hazel's saying, that we can name these things that are barriers, but to not allow them to become things that keep us held back and hindrances, but we can name it and continue pushing against the systems, because even though these things have been set up since America was born and colonization came into effect when Christopher Columbus came over.
Before America, it was like happening in Africa,
right,
like all through.
Right.
I mean, this isn't like just an American thing. Like this is all through the world.
It is through the world
where there was like whiteness, there was authority, and the desire for authority and privilege and power, and because of that, anybody who was not whiteness was pushed down. So like, I mean, you got the Hutus and the Tutsis down in Rwanda that were like, literally the whole genocide started from this system that was set up by Europeans to say like, hey, the lighter skinned Africans, this tribe right here, you guys are lighter and taller and look more European. Yeah. So therefore you guys have more privilege.
And that's colorism at its finest. So there's even things we need to name amongst people of color too, that it's not just, it's the people of color versus white people, but we as people of color also have things in our community that can be barriers in terms of, like for Black people, what we can speak to is, I don't trust sometimes Black-owned businesses because they don't do high-quality service, or I'd rather go to a white business and trust that they'll give good product. Right. Or, if we are people of color and there's a language barrier, like, with accents and maybe immigrant communities and not knowing how to interact and deal with, how can I achieve success with someone that I don't understand, or I'm not quite sure where their culture is. And so I think a big thing in order to continue climbing the ladder of success as a person of color is, one, becoming aware of what are the barriers that are already existing to push against me. What are the things that I can do to start to be strategic in coming up with kind of like innovative and creative solutions for myself to continue to, whether it's, let's just say with racism or classism, not allow myself to even get stuck into those mindsets and almost like a victim mentality of, well, this is just what people say about people of color, so I guess I might as well just go along with what I'm being told. Right. But we have to create experiences for ourselves, which is what Spark is all about, to be able to challenge and create empowering beliefs about what we are able to achieve, no matter what the barriers are. And so that takes a lot of, I think, brace, getting yourself around the people who can challenge these mindsets to get us moving into new arenas so that we can continue climbing the ladder of success. There's so much more we can say on this question, but we should get to the next one.
You talking long.
Actually, you talked longer than me because you started talking about Walnut Creek and the Hootsies and the Tootsies. And
don't disrespect the Hootsies and the Tootsies like that.
Okay, next one. This one is from Portia from Oakland. And she asks, how would you go about getting a team for your dreams and goals when there aren't people around you who are successful or stepping out to achieve their own dreams and goals, and whether that be family or friends.
Wow. Can I take this one?
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, I think I would love to challenge you, Portia, and I would say that um I would say that you have a limiting belief around uh your resources that you have available to you. The fact that you believe already that you don't have anybody around you who's successful or trying to be successful to going after their dreams, I think is what is limiting you, not necessarily there not being people around you. And I would say that the truth is that, and this isn't like, oh, shame on you for even, but like a lot of times we are like this. We're like, I don't have any resources, I don't have any time, I don't have any money. Like if you ask anybody, oh, why they failed, most people will say not enough money, not enough time, not enough resources. I didn't have anybody to teach me. I didn't have a father. I didn't have a mother. Whatever it is, like we can always blame something around me. I love what Craig Rochelle says. We can either make excuses or we can make a difference. And I think the truth is, if you want to make an excuse, then you're going to say, I don't have any resources, and that's it. But if you realize that truthfully we are resourceful, that we do have resources, we just need to learn how to be resourceful, then we can actually create any opportunity for ourselves. Like even if, let's just say, you did not have anybody around you who was to brace yourself, who was successful or trying to be successful, I would say that you have books, you have videos, you have movies, you have online communities, you have webinars, you have workshops, you have conferences that you can go to, and you can start to surround yourself with these people that you don't get to see on your everyday basis. Mm-hmm. And so, like, the truth is, I'll take I'll answer your question like this. If I believed it, if I believed that you did not have anybody around you to surround yourself with, to brace yourself, to encourage you, hold you accountable, to spark you, to give you a new sense of purpose, to help you tap into your flow, and then for them to use their flow to support you in your dream, then I would say that you have the internet, like you have the ability to tap in to all these different communities. Like we have so much power in the palm of our hand right now, because we are able to literally tap in with somebody on the other side of the world, where like 200 years ago, they would have to send 200, 300, 400 years ago, they would have to send for someone to come and teach them something, or send for someone wise to come into their land and be like, teach us about what you've learned from here, from afar. But literally you can be like, Google, what is the answer to this? And Google will literally provide the answer for you within like seconds. So you have that, but also I would say that you do have people around you who are thriving and are surviving. Or I'll say this before I even get to that one again. I would say that if you didn't have people around you who are pursuing their dreams, who are successful, then I would say it's time for you to start lifting up the people around you to go after their dreams, encouraging, empowering them to go after their dreams. I think a lot of times we want to be the only one pursuing our dreams. We want to be the only person. We want to be the first person in our community to do it big and make it happen, so everybody sees us and be like, oh, you really did it. Like, bump that. Like, help your community. Help you push your community forward, because even if they're in competition with you, even if they're in the same line of business with you, the truth is somebody's going to win. Somebody's going to win. Wouldn't you want to be friends with the person who's winning? Like, you want to be friends with that person. You want to be on the same team as them. You want to be pushing them forward, because you guys are going to actually cause each other and challenge each other to get better and better. And you guys can provide resources for each other as you guys move forward. And so I would say that, I would say it's time for you. 1, search the internet if you don't have anybody. 2, start creating people, or encouraging people and empowering people to move forward into their dreams. Create opportunities for people to be able to pursue their dreams or to learn more about their dreams. Create intentional conversations. Like, invite people over your house and be like, yo, we about to talk about dreams. Like, we just about to talk about dreams, because it's time for us to move after our dreams. And then the next one, I would say, we just got to open our eyes, because I think we have people around us. We have them. I think a lot of times it just is a sign that we are not communicating with people enough, and we are not asking the right questions if we think that other people are not successful and other people are not pursuing their dreams. And so, yeah, that would be my answer to the question, Portia. I'm not ragging on you, but I think that you asked a very, very good question that a lot of people are asking and need to hear. And so, yeah, I'm glad you asked it, and I think that that's what I believe. Yeah.
Okay, time for our next question. And this question is coming from Chrissy, all the way in Georgia.
Georgia.
This question says, what are steps that I can take to rewire my thinking to live my extraordinary life where I am presently, rather than feeling stuck or behind because I don't have a degree already or I'm not yet in the career field of my passion like other 20-somethings around me? That is a great question. And do you want to take it, babe, or you want me to take it?
You think I should take it because I don't have a degree? Don't be.
No, I think it'll be good if you talk about this, because I mean, we can both piggyback, but what I'm hearing Chrissy asking is, like, how do we continue to stay motivated and encouraged to keep moving toward our extraordinary life when it maybe could be easy to compare ourselves when we see other people around us moving in the things that they're already, their dreams and their passions, and we're still in this phase of progressing and, taking steps and hustling to get to where we want to be, but we're not there yet.
Yeah.
So it sounds almost like Chrissy's asking, like, how do I continue to, like, maybe challenge those limiting beliefs that's easy to have about myself, and continue creating these extraordinary, empowering beliefs that I'm still moving toward purpose and dreams.
Yeah. Man, it's such a challenging thing. I would say that beliefs can tell us a lot about us a lot of times. And I think I would say there's this thing about beliefs is that, one, I would say the difference between a limiting belief and maybe something we need to, like, question ourselves and, like, ask ourselves and go deeper on is that, honestly, we need to go deeper on every question. We need to question every question and every belief. But I would say this, that sometimes our thoughts can point us to something. If you are feeling discouraged about your pursuit and you feel that you are behind, and there are a lot of people who are your age that are further ahead and you should be further ahead, there's two things. One, and if you are already in the pursuit of your dream, and maybe you're going back to school, you're planning to go back to school, you're in a program, and maybe you kind of took a break and then you decided to go back into that program, and everybody's ahead. I would say that, honestly, you just gotta grind it out and go and, like, continue to push and go towards your dream and allow yourself to continue to move forward. If you want to be encouraged in that and you want to change your mindset so that you're not discouraged about the fact that you're still behind, I would say that what you should do is you should surround yourself around people who have taken that route, who have maybe taken a break from school, and now they're getting back into school and they started later. Because what that's going to do is you're bracing yourself with a new community of people who have been where you have been and they have become successful after, and they are going to spark new beliefs so that you are more confident about the position that you're in. I think a lot of times it's easy to see yourself in comparison to those in your age bracket, because then maybe they're doing things differently or they're further ahead than where you are. But I think one of the things we got to realize is that life isn't so much of a race where one person's ahead or the other person isn't. Like, I think I like to look at life as more on a lateral plane, and that we are all learning and growing at the same time, regardless of if I'm in school or if I'm not in school, if I got this job, or if I'm in an internship, if I'm in a relationship, or if I'm single. Like, just because I'm in a relationship and you're single doesn't mean that I'm learning more than you're learning. I'm learning something different that you're not learning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think a lot of times when someone is making more money or already has their degree, we see ourselves as behind. And I think that's just like one of the society structures that has caused us to look at and see ourselves, oh, I'm behind, I got to catch up. And all these people are doing all these different things. You're not behind. You're where you're supposed to be. And if you're moving forward and going towards your dreams, really the competition is with yourself. Am I doing the best thing? And so I would say that leads me to my second part. Maybe it isn't about you're going back to school, and maybe, you're trying to figure things out, and maybe your decision was, I'm not going back to school. Then it might be possible that this belief isn't a limiting belief, but this belief could also just be a challenge for you to say, like, ask yourself, are you working as hard as you should be working? Are you spending as much time on your dream as you should be spending on your dream? Are you intentional about, like, constantly putting in the work? I think a lot of times we can feel discouraged about our position in life, even when we're working. But sometimes I think that it could also be, I would say, like a beacon for us to say, like, okay, like, all right, this is a wake up call. I need to do a little bit more. Like, I need to spend more time working. I need to spend more time grinding. I need to spend more time studying. I need to do whatever. And if your decision is not to go back to school, and I'll say this from the perspective of someone who did not go to college, I would say that you gotta work harder. Like, for me, I've recognized, especially as a black man, a lot of times people will tell you this: as a black man, you gotta. And Chrissy, I don't think you're a black man, but but I think a lot of times, like, people will tell me, as a black man, you got to work harder than anybody else, especially since you don't have a degree. You got to work even harder. It's harder, so you got to get you a degree. You got to get this. And I feel like there's been a lot of black people who have said that to me and have held me back from getting different things because of that. And so I feel like more white people have accepted me into jobs than black people have because of that. But anyway, I'll say all to say is that even if you're not going to get a degree, then you have to recognize that these people are spending $100,000 to be in this program with the hopes that it's going to turn out for an opportunity for themselves. Right? They're spending $100,000. Now, that sucks. I wouldn't do it. And if you're deciding that you're not going to do it, then that means you need to work and put in a work ethic that is worth $100,000. If you're not going to spend $100,000, then you need to put in a work ethic of $100,000 so that you can keep up with them. Because that's the choice that you made. The choice is, I'm not going to school. Okay, you're not going to school. Cool. But put in that $100,000 effort. Now, there's a whole bunch of different, like, fields that you can go into that you don't need a college degree. Like, you can be a techie and make as much as a doctor nowadays out here in California. But what I'm saying is, yeah, if you feel that you're being discouraged, or you're feeling down, or you're feeling like you're comparing yourself, I would say, and you're on your path and you're grinding, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, then forget that. Don't look at those people. Look at the people who are taking the path that you're taking. And if you're not going back to school and you're trying to take a different route, but you haven't figured out exactly what you're supposed to be doing, then the question is, are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? Are you doing enough? And if you are doing enough, cool. Still surround yourself around people who are doing who did what you're doing and they were successful at it. That's my take on it. I don't know if you have a different opinion.
No, I think that's good. I mean, I think what I'm hearing in her question too is not that she doesn't want to go to school, but she's in the process of trying to get her degree, but she doesn't have it yet.
Gotcha, yeah.
So while you're in the process of grinding before you can get into, like, your degree, which I can speak to that part, which I took 3 years off after getting my BA in psychology before going to get my doctorate. And it was hard in that 3-year gap to feel like, okay, I know people who go straight from undergrad into grad school. What should I do during this time? And how do I know I'm going to stay motivated to keep going after the degree that I really want? And really, it came down to continuing to put myself in opportunities where I'm moving in my passion and my purpose. And so after graduating, I specifically looked for jobs that were working in mental health because I knew that was the path that I wanted to go down my degree. And so it honestly was kind of like a trial run too, where I was like, okay, I'm going to continue to put myself in these places so that I can continue having the mindset of where I'll probably need for this degree. And if I hate it, this will tell me that I should not go to grad school and get that degree. But I ended up falling more in love with it. And so during that time, it could have been easy to compare myself with other 20-something-year-olds that were getting their masters, and I still was like working full time at a mental health clinic. But because I knew where I was headed and I knew what the purpose was in this season of my life, I didn't allow it to discourage me because I knew exactly what this season was being used for. I knew exactly where my destination was. And so I just knew, okay, this is just another step. And that this step is actually vital for me to take in this process of like hustling, maybe some exploration, because actually when I ended up applying for grad school, it made me that much of a what they call a well-rounded candidate because of my experience and the time that I took to grind, to figure out what I was doing, and to find out what the next steps were before my degree. So yeah, I think whether you're in the process of, I'm in my 20-somethings, there's all these people that are getting married, got houses, got fat bank accounts, got this, and I'm just over here like trying to be consistent with the hustle. Like, don't give up. Keep surrounding yourself with people who are in spaces like you, but also that are not in spaces like you, so that you can continue getting different, varying perspectives, but not for you to compare yourself or to say, okay, this person thinks I should do this, but for you to stay grounded and like, I guess, purpose centered in, okay, everybody else may be doing this. This was their journey, but this is my journey. How do I want to define success in my journey?
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Our next question is from Akeem. All the way from Oakland. And his question is, I know a lot of our generation, especially Black and brown folk, deals with imposter syndrome when we are in professional environments. How would you encourage someone who deals with imposter syndrome to create grace?
Everybody faking it.
I mean, I think this is a really good question because I think Patrick and I have various experiences where we're feeling imposter syndrome. And that's kind of a psychology term where it's like you're scared you're going to get found out. Like people are one day going to figure out that you're not as smart as you said you were and the world's going to come crumbling down. You're going to get busted. So I can speak to what that feels like with being in my doctoral program where literally everybody's white. Most people are white, and the people of color, Black and brown people, you can count them on your fingers. So how I have had to encourage myself and how other Black and brown people in my program had to encourage themselves is literally to become united with other Black and brown people, to know that we are not alone in this, because I think the struggle is real when you feel like I'm constantly in white spaces where I can be comparing myself, or maybe I'm having challenges that I'm noticing my white colleagues aren't having. And is this because of my race? Is this because I'm not smart? Is this because, I'm not good enough? Like, I don't know how I even got invited to this space when I feel so insecure about my abilities. And I think one thing that's been very useful to me has been uniting myself with other Black and brown people, and kind of uniting in the fact of like, we're in this space together and we don't need to allow ourselves to fall into the insecure mindset of, the imposter syndrome, feeling like we don't deserve to be here. And I think that one thing that we can continue to look at is those limiting beliefs. Like, where am I getting these beliefs that like I don't belong here, or that I'm not good enough, or I'm going to get found out. People are going to see how smart I really am not. And I think those often come from like our deepest fears, but they do also come, I think, from, media representations, from culture, messages that we receive about like Black and brown people's abilities. Mm-hmm. And we constantly have to challenge those things and become very aware of our flow. Where are the strengths that we actually have, and actually start creating those empowering beliefs and become so in tune with our purpose of why we are in these spaces, why we are here in professional settings, what we are trying to accomplish. And I think literally BSPF goes perfectly into dealing with imposter syndrome in professional settings, because it's once we start uniting with other people, once we start challenging those limiting beliefs and creating the empowering beliefs, becoming aware of what is our purpose while we're in this professional space, and then getting into where our strengths and our flow is, then we start to overcome these mindsets to get us closer and closer to that extraordinary life while we're in our professional spaces.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I would say that one of the most empowering things that I've heard was that if we waited until we had it figured out, somebody else who didn't have it figured out would have already done it. And I think that's like, a lot of times we focus so much on like thinking. I mean, the truth is everybody's like fronting it. Everybody's fronting, and everybody's just faking it and pretending like they know what they're talking about, and pretending like they believe like they're just, yeah, absolutely. Who was it? What's his name? Microsoft. Steve Jobs. No, Steve Jobs.
Apple.
Yeah.
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates. They said when Bill Gates started, this cat literally had not made one lick of software yet. He had just learned how to make it. And then all of a sudden he started going, I think it was like the IBM, and he started to sell to all these people. It's like, yeah, absolutely. I got this program, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I can absolutely do that. I can make this happen. And they were like, yeah. He had never made it before. He had never done it. And he was just faking. And like, everybody's like, cool. All right, come on. Yeah, make it for me. And he like literally went, took their money and built it for the first time ever and displayed it to him like he had seen it before, and was like literally the first time he had even seen it too. And so he like made it and sold it. And like all of a sudden he's like the genius who like knew this stuff and blah, 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 blah. Like he literally just faked it. And then people were like, believed him. And so like, I think it's so empowering to realize that a lot of these successful people, especially, we see a lot of white successful people, a lot of them are faking it. They're just making it up, and they're going, and they see something that might look good, and they think that everybody will love, and they just do it, and then they hope that it turns out well. And sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's like, it's Google. Sometimes it's like, it's something amazing. Sometimes it's Firefest, and it's like, it's a scam. But I think I say that to say that, like, yeah, like imposter syndrome is because you're around a bunch of other people who are pretending like they knew it all along. And like when we started off with our business, we knew that we wanted to do this. We knew that this was something that was exciting for us, and we knew we had a little bit of experience in it, and and we saw a little bit of success. But like our first coaching sessions, dang, like I wish I could just be like, take them back. like our first dream team, I'm like, dang, I want to do a dream team recall of the first team, because I'm like, dang, we learned so much after like all these years, right, that like I wish I could redo it. But
and we felt imposter syndrome too.
Yeah, no, we definitely did. I feel like we're cheating people. We're cheating people, making them pay to come and be at these things. And now I'm like, we giving y'all so much value, y'all better say thank you. But yeah, I think it's one of those things where, yeah, you feel imposter syndrome because no one wants to tell you the truth that in their beginning phases, especially in their beginning phases when they start, is that they're faking it, and they're just trying to get it started. If they had it figured it out, if people wait until they have it figured out, it's too late. Somebody already did it. Somebody with way less knowledge than you. Oh man, we always talk about this with like, especially like people who are professionals at something, want to teach something like photography or like martial arts or anything else like that. People always feel like they need to be a master. They need to be like the top 5% before they can actually teach something. But like the truth is the top 5% are like, there's top 5%, then there's like the top 70, and then there's top 30, and like, I'm sorry, there's the top 5, and then there's like 70, and there's 70 above, and then there's 30 and above, and then there it's like, but you realize when you get to this like 10% makes up most of the population. These are the people who are complete novices, who have no idea about your expertise or about your skills. And if you were just to sell to them, you would make enough money to be able to survive in business. Just to the people who have no knowledge at all. So like from 0 to 100, and this is a good question to ask yourself. You should use this. If 0 from 100, if you can ask yourself, how much do I know? Am I at 100% where I know 100% of everything I need to know? Or am I at 0 where I know absolutely nothing about this? And guarantee if you're over 60%, if you're over 30, just over 30, you can teach all the people who are under 30. Mm-hmm. And you can set up a business and make money off of teaching the people who are under 30.
Right.
And people do it all the freaking time.
Yeah, it's true.
So, yeah, you feel like an imposter because everybody else is faking.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think we talked about a lot today in terms of really hitting on BSPF in every way. Where there's questions getting into how do I start moving into my purpose? What are things I can start to develop, embrace? What are things I can start realizing the areas that I have those limiting beliefs? And,
right.
Trying to get in touch more with our flow. That these questions are so rich because these are the things that we face every day that are maybe obstacles in our thinking of like, I don't know how to overcome this. Like, how can I apply the things that I'm learning, even my day-to-day life, whether it's in my educational learning time, whether it's in my job, like how can I use these things to create my extraordinary life? And we love these questions because one, of course, it allows us to engage with you guys and interact in a new way. Mm-hmm. But then it causes even us to grow in what are different ways that we can even think about obstacles and think about the things that people face to redefine success so that we can begin to even question for ourselves, because we still have questions about how we can redefine success for ourselves. Sure. So we love these questions because one, it gives good content to everyone else that's listening and gets them thinking about, maybe I have a question about what this could look like in my life, but it causes us to also challenge ourselves to think about, man, how do we redefine success in this specific area too? Mm-hmm. So yeah, we just want to thank everyone. We literally had probably like 25 more questions, but we could not get to all of them. Yeah. We wanted to definitely answer a good handful of them. So we just want to thank you to everyone that sent in questions.
Maybe one day we'll do a bonus
question and answer.
Or even what we can do is we can take some of those questions we got and incorporate them into other podcast episodes.
Oh, true. And we can answer really some more on our social media too. Yeah. So we'll try to find a way to continue answering more of these questions that we didn't get to. But we just want to thank you guys. We just want to, one, encourage you that, of course, you have the power to create your extraordinary life. Yeah. And for you to know you don't have to do it alone.
Yeah. And so before we leave, we, of course, want to leave you with a challenge.
A challenge.
Because that's what we do. We leave challenges.
Can I leave the challenge?
Baby, of course you can.
Oh, I thought he was going to say no. My challenge for you all is, how can you apply, whether it's a principle of BSPF, so Brace, Spark, Purpose, Flow, now that you have listened to all the episodes and know what they are. And if you haven't yet, go back, listen to them all, because my question is, how can you apply one of these things into a challenge that you're facing in your life right now? And specifically applying this to what your extraordinary life means or looks like to you. And so let's just say, hey, I'm having a challenge getting a dream team, or I'm having a challenge overcoming anxiety. I'm having a challenge with understanding my why, like what is my purpose? Mm-hmm. I would really challenge you all to think about what is that one thing that's challenging you in this area, and how can you then use maybe one of the things that we've talked about in BSPF and apply those things to help get you to that next level in your extraordinary life. So, for example, like Portia's question, how can I go about getting a team to help me with my dream when no one's around me, like hustling and grinding? Yeah. If that is a challenge you are facing right now, go back, listen to the Brace episode, because there's actually some things that we can start to incorporate to be able to take ourselves and even challenge our mindsets, like Patrick talked about, to be able to see there are more resources, there are more people around us that we can get access to than we think. So then that way we can start to come up with innovative and creative solutions to our own problems, where we don't allow ourselves to stay stuck, but we can say, okay, there's some tools now, there's principles that I can apply to my life to help push me through this. So which one can I use out of BSPF? Because we believe BSPF applies to everything, our marriages, our businesses, our finances. So we really encourage you, which tenet of BSPF can you use to a challenge that you're facing right now?
Well, if you all are listening, you could probably hear my alarm going off in the other room, because that means it's time to stop.
Time to stop.
But we are so grateful for you all. Remember that our podcast thrives and survives on your support and your love. And so if you're listening to this, please go and write us a review.
Yes,
share, like, comment, send us a message. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us at the Millers at CoCoPlanMyLife.com.
Yes.
And remember, you have the power to create your extraordinary life.
Bye.
Peace out, y'all.